Welcome to Sky Engine, a part of the Intrepid astrology software family. I'm Adam Gainsberg. This tutorial will explain how to read the data results for any Sky Engine search you wish to perform. In a follow-up tutorial called Easy Exporting, we'll also show you how Sky Engine elegantly translates the data on your computer screen into a professional-looking spreadsheet that's been pre-formatted to quickly send to your clients, format in your own way, or compile for your own research projects. Let's get started. To begin, let's first look at the different types of searches I've run, which you can always find in the very first row of your results. To do that, let's quickly review the 4 types of Sky Engine searches. Keep in mind, each of these searches are covered in a separate tutorial. Up here in the search criteria selection area, the 4 types of searches are a now search, shows you the current cycle underway for your chosen planet. The next search selects how many cycles after the current one you wish to see. The now plus next combines the now and the selectable next searches together. Each of these searches, as well as the DPY, are covered in detail in the 4 types of searches video. Please make sure to check out that tutorial as well. Okay. So back to the data results field here, you can see I've run a few different kinds of searches. The first line of any Sky Engine search always will display your chosen criteria for that search. This information is also carried over into any export you do, as I explain in the Easy Exporting tutorial. So the first search here, as you can see, is on Mercury. In this case, we ran a search on the planet Mercury using the heroic journey system of phases. This was the date that we set the search for. This was the type of search we ran. And this is how many phases we wanted to see. This says that we ran a now search for Mercury. So let's look a little bit more closely at this. The now search simply includes the current cycle only and all phases within that cycle according to the definition system that you've selected. The next type here is a Venus search we ran using the soul sign definition of phases for this date, and this was simply a next one cycle, which skips the current cycle and produces all of the phases for the next subsequent cycle based on the now time. And again, we included all phases. The next type of search I ran was for the planet Mars using the soul sign definition of phases for this date, but in this case, we only wanted to look at phase 2. The second phase in this system of phase definitions for the next 3 cycles. We were wanting to look for or to compare data for Mars using this system of phases, in this case soul sign, for only phase 2 for any of the next cycles that occurred. The Jupiter search we ran was using the shamanic astrology system of phase definitions for this date. And in this case, we just wanted Sky Engine to find for us the Virgo cycle of Jupiter. And only within the Virgo cycle, we only want to see phase 5. The next search we ran was for the planet Saturn using the heroic journey system of phases for this date. And here we ran a now plus next 2 cycles of Taurus and including all phases in the search. Let's now come up here to the column headers, and you can see these are obviously consistent for every search that we run. So let's just take the top one here. Ref refers to reference. This column displays what type of data you are looking at. The TRA, which stands for transit, refers to the start of a phase. The now, as you can see here, refers to the now time of the search. So you can see here 23 January 2014 matches the now time of the search. So now lines only appear, of course, in now type of searches. If you run a next search, the now line will not appear, as you can see here in this set of results. PL, of course, stands for planet, so in this case Mercury. Day, month, and year are self-explanatory. CY stands for cycle. This is telling us what sign of the whole cycle was underway. C8 simply stands for cycle Scorpio. We identify each cycle by the consecutive number of that sign in the zodiac. So Scorpio being the 8th sign, so this would say that we are looking at the Scorpio cycle of Mercury. Whereas for here Venus, we're looking at the Leo cycle of Venus, C5. Like for Mars, we're looking here at the Cancer cycle, and this is the Virgo cycle, and this is the Libra cycle, etc. pH stands for phase. P1, P2, P3, P4, etc. all the way down. And again, in this search, we were not looking for consecutive phases comprising one full cycle. We were just searching for phase 2. That's why phase 2 are common here. But in this case up here, we see they are all consecutive all the way through. P1, P2, P3, all the way to P8. DUR is the duration in time. This is how long this phase lasts. All durations in SkyEngine are measured in days. %pH stands for how far through the phase are we complete. So for the most part, SkyEngine produces the start of every phase. So therefore, this column will oftentimes show 0% because this is literally the start of the phase. Some of the phases programmed into SkyEngine include an intermediate data line, in this case here, or in this case here. Here we see that this moment, whatever this definition is, this moment occurs at 54% of the way through the 5th phase in the Scorpio cycle of Mercury. Angle stands for the phase angle. In astrology, this is otherwise known as an arc of separation or an elongation. Angle here will show you how far the planet is from the sun before or after the sun in the zodiac. So in this case, you can see by noticing the plus or minus sign listed just before the phase angle amount. A plus sign always tells you the planet is later in the zodiac than the sun. A minus sign always tells you the planet is earlier in the zodiac than the sun. The first phase begins with Mercury later in the zodiac than the sun, but here phase 2, P2, begins with Mercury before the sun in the zodiac, and then Mercury and the sun start to elongate from one another or separate from one another until they reach maximum here, and then they start to approach each other. So in this column called angle, again standing for phase angle, arc of separation, or elongation, anytime you have a 0 degree, 00 minute, that stands for a conjunction between the two bodies involved, in this case Mercury and the sun. If we jump down here for a moment, you can see that in this system of Venus phases, the cycle begins with the conjunction. And then jumping back up top here, longitude is simply the zodiacal position along the ecliptic of the planet at that moment in time when the criteria for this phase were achieved. In this case, Mercury was at 11 Scorpio 31, and Mercury was retrograde. 7 Scorpio 40, retrograde, and here finally Mercury is at 6 Scorpio 36 and direct at the start of phase 4. 0% of phase 4, Mercury is direct, etc. until you see here Mercury ends his cycle retrograde again. The latitude column displays the body's latitude position above or below, that is north or south, above or below the ecliptic. So in this case we have Mercury at 1 south 01 latitude. Here Mercury is right on the ecliptic. Here Mercury is above north of the ecliptic. Here is Mercury more north of the ecliptic, etc. You'll also notice a plus and minus symbol after the latitude position. The plus and minus symbols indicate the latitude trend for the planet. A plus symbol indicates that the planet at that moment is heading in northern latitude direction. A minus symbol indicates that the planet is heading in southern latitude direction. Please note that the plus and minus symbols are independent of where the planet is at the moment that that phase data line represents. Right ascension and declination here, of course, refer to the equatorial grid system. So here we have the right ascensional position, and here we have the declination position. We also have the planet's speed. The speed data programmed into SkyEngine refer to a planet's relative velocity, or its motion as seen from the Earth, rather than its absolute velocity. Also note that the speed data are calculated based on 1 Earth day, indicated by the letter D. A minus sign before the speed datum indicates that the planet is in retrograde motion. This repeats the letter R designation found in the longitude column. A plus or minus sign after the datum indicates that the planet is increasing or decreasing its speed. We call this the planet's speed trend. We also show the sun's position at that moment. We also here remind you of which system of phase definitions you're looking at, in this case heroic journey, and then for programming purposes we also include the Julian day. This row is always consistent in any SkyEngine search you run. It will always have the same column headers here. Keep in mind that each search you run in SkyEngine is rather unique and custom to the criteria that you've selected up here. Okay, so that completes this video tutorial. Make sure to check out the easy exporting tutorial, in which we'll look at all of the different ways that SkyEngine is programmed to translate all of these alphanumeric codes into proper English in an attractive, professional-looking spreadsheet. Thanks for watching, and clear skies for us all.